Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Wednesday evening podcast. I am your host, Cody Mathewson. Today, we have a sports specialist on the program, Tyler T-Mac McFarland. Welcome to the show, my friend.
How you doing today?
I'm doing all right, dude. This is the first time he's been in the studio, actually, so we're looking forward to doing the rundown of some free agency. We're going to talk NFL draft. We're going to talk basketball, specifically the tournament coming up. And you know, this is not a sports podcast per se, but today we're going to mainly focus on the task at hand, which is completely sports related. We're going to dive into it. It's going to be awesome. So let's get started, man. What's going on in free agency right now?
There's a lot of stuff going on. Obviously, we're from San Diego, so we always like to know what's going on with the Chargers. But they really haven't done much. I mean, they signed Donald Brown. I think that is a good replacement for Ronnie Brown. Much younger. He's going to be able to catch some passes out of the backfield. But more importantly, I think the AFC West division overall has been doing pretty well. At least the Broncos have.
Free agency-wise, the Broncos are... Okay. They're not learning from the counterpart in the Super Bowl. Seattle kicked the living shit out of the Broncos on a team made out of undrafted free agents, draft picks, young guys, average 26 years old. But the Broncos, they seem to be the big player in free agency. Last year, who did they pick up? They got Sean Phillips from the Chargers, Quentin Jammer, he was deactivated most of the time.
Luis Vasquez.
I don't know where they're shelling out all this money, but another thing that's baffling to me, though, in the AFC West is Oakland, dude. I mean, they signed Roger Saffold to a 5-year, $42 million deal when their own player, Jared Veldheer, I think his name is, he goes to Arizona on a 5-year, $37 million deal, and his production was off the charts. I mean, Saffold's missed like 3 games a year.
Yeah.
And then they picked up...
Can't stay on the field.
Yeah, and then they pick up this dude, Austin Howard.
Yeah.
I don't even know who the hell that is, man.
Everybody's talking about it. Everybody's saying how bad the Raiders have done already to start off. And I mean, it's only been, this is the second day of free agency?
Yeah, but so $64 million on the cap space, man. And they're picking up these linemen that are like average tier. So, as a Chargers fan, which I have no shame in saying, you know, based out of San Diego here right now, being a Chargers fan, we're going to be a little bit biased, but come on. I mean,
yeah,
Oakland... That they're not playing the game right unless they plan on doing something in the draft. But what I'm trying to get at, dude, is free agency is not... It's not what you need to do to be a contender.
I don't think it's go out, blow all your money on free agency. I mean, Denver spent a lot of money. On paper, they've got a lot of good players. Aqib Talib, I mean, he's a great corner as long as he can stay on the field, too. He's one of those guys who gets hurt a lot. So.
He's got the hip problems. Now, what I got to say about Aqib Talib, quality corner, probably the best one on the free agent market is you know, since it happened yesterday. But what I'm trying to get at with Denver here is they're basically they're addressing defense, which I totally understand, but we're looking at the Super Bowl. If you put Aqib Talib, DeMarcus Ware, and T.J. Ward on the same defense against the same Seattle Seahawks team in the Super Bowl this year, they're still going to get steamrolled because they're doing these bubble screens on offense. They're doing, you know, long yardage runs, yard after the catch with Demaryius Thomas, and that's their offense, man.
I just don't think, though, that their defense could have given up less points. Even though their offense was terrible in the Super Bowl, their defense could have given up less points if they had more pressure on the quarterback. You figure you're going to have Von Miller, DeMarcus Ware, Aqib Talib, you're going to have T.J. Ward, you're still going to probably have Sean Phillips there. So, I mean, you have some decent pass rushers who've gotten a lot of sacks.
It'll be pretty ferocious. I'm sure it will, without a doubt. I mean, you got these guys coming off the edge, and they're all proven, you know?
Definitely.
You understand why they're doing it, but then again, you look at teams like Seattle, San Francisco, they built through the draft, and that's why I have to say Tom Telesco, not being a big player in free agency for the Chargers. He picks up Donald Brown. Great addition to the backfield. As you can see, you know, in that divisional round game against Denver, they lost Matthews a few plays in because he got hurt the week before against Cincinnati. And then all of a sudden, you know, our run game's totally predictable. We're airing it out to Keenan Allen in the third and fourth quarter, pretty much the end of the third quarter. And we're putting up unanswered points because we have to go to our passing game when we're a run-oriented team.
Definitely.
So Donald Brown, dude, is without a doubt a great addition. Matthews goes down, he's going to.
I'd like to see some pickups on defense, though. We definitely should be getting a corner. I know they gambled on Derek Cox. I don't know why they did in last year. That was one of the questionable calls that Telesco's had so far. But there is a lot of good corners. There's actually just a lot of good defensive backs in general. I mean, you look at Antoine Bethea going to San Francisco. I mean, he got a lot of money.
That's a good pickup. He's a good safety, but I don't know if he's as good as Whitner was for him.
That's the thing, is you look at all these contracts. Did you see what Jarius Byrd just got? He got fat deal. And I mean, don't get me wrong, he was probably the best one on the market, but not by that much money. I mean, you look at TJ Ward, he's making $5.5 million on a 4-year deal in Denver. So
Dude, 6 years, 50, was it $57 million?
Yeah, $57 million. Did the same thing as Aqib Talib got.
Jeez, man. Well, okay. These guys, I don't even know what to say about the Jarius Byrd. He comes from Buffalo Bills.
That's the problem.
He was an All-Pro, but yeah, you're going to be an All-Pro on that team.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, they have Joe Hayden as well, and I think T.J. Ward, when he was in Cleveland, I think he got a little bit overshadowed, and I don't know what I just said there. I don't know why I said Joe Hayden was there because.
If you want, T.J. Ward played with Joe Hayden. We're talking about T.J. Ward, Jarius Byrd getting a similar contract, but dude, let me just say, Cleveland is doing. They're pulling a Miami, man. They're big. Well, they're pulling an Oakland and a Miami. They're doing free agency. They're only going to win 6 games next year, but dude. They let T.J. Ward walk. They let DeQuell Jackson walk, and then you replace them with that dude from Arizona, Carlos Dansby. And Dante Whitner, who are older and are not even they don't have a rapport with the team. And
they need to work on their offense. I mean, who are you going to start next year? Quarterback Brandon Weeden. You're going to start Brian Hoyer. I mean,
no, dude. They're gonna take Teddy Bridgewater in the draft, and he's going to be a bust. That's a bold call right there. Bridgewater's. Not the answer, dude.
Some reports saying that Ben Tate's the favorite to go there to Cleveland as well to be their running back. So I think that might actually be a pretty good pickup if they do follow through and get him.
Ben Tate would be a solid pickup, but like this under the radar signing by the Chargers with Donald Brown, dude, that is like, in my opinion, is one of the best pickups of the day because he's not a big name, and that guys that aren't a super big name. And I've watched him play, dude. He was a stud coming out of Connecticut, and I think it was 2009. That guy is going to be an asset to the Chargers. I don't know how they're going to use him, but...
He's going to be good in the passing game, I think. I don't know how much running he's going to get because you figure you're going to have to still utilize Woodhead. You're still going to have Mathews. Yeah, Mathews, if he gets hurt, obviously he's going to get a lot more time, but he's probably going to see the field as much or maybe just a little bit more than what Ronnie Brown saw the field last year. So
Ronnie Brown was a quality back for the Chargers. He was getting up there in years, but, they had to go a little bit younger, a little more established. I wish that guy the best, though. I hope he ends up on a roster somewhere and hopefully contributes, but not with us,
Definitely. There's also been a lot more signings, obviously. I think one of the big things that we saw wasn't a signing, but the trade for Jonathan Martin to San Francisco. I think that was a 7th-round pick. Probably Harbaugh just saying, hey, you're my guy. You played with me in college. Come over here. We'll see if we can get your career straightened out for you. But he's definitely going to be a backup in San Francisco because they have one of the best offensive lines in the game right now. So,
my question with the Niners is, did anybody think that going into day one of free agency, the 49ers were going to trade a 6th rounder for Blaine Gabbert and a conditional 7th for Jonathan Martin? But, with Martin going to San Francisco, I think that's great for his career. He's going to be reunited with Harbaugh, and Harbaugh, was his college coach. He knows what his work ethic is like. I think he was in a bad situation in Miami. I mean, that Richie Incognito, that dude is a monster, dude.
He's not a good guy, that's for sure.
By any chance, did you read the Ted Wells report that was published?
I read most of it, and there were some pretty disturbing things in there. Dude, I can't be honest with you.
Some of the dialogue in that, I mean, I would have done the same thing. I mean, it's hard to say. I wouldn't want to be treated like that. Like, imagine if we went to work and there was some idiot talking shit saying, oh, your sister's coming into town. I heard she's a something. Come on, man. I mean, every day of your...
And with the whole... calling everybody the N-word and this and that. I mean, coming from a white boy myself, and obviously you're white, I mean, that's not a word that we just throw around. I don't know why Richie Incognito thought it was a word that he can just go around saying in the locker room. I don't know. There's a whole problem in Miami over there. They're a mess. They're probably not going to have a good year this year either, so I'm not really worried about that. But I am kind of happy for Jonathan Martin that he's going to get a chance to actually prove himself and get another chance to play in the NFL. But
yeah, Richie Incognito's done, dude.
yeah, I don't think
he'll never play in the league again. I mean, why would you want anybody of that nature in your locker room?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
that guy, dude.
And then when Philbin came out and said, "Oh, I didn't choose Incognito as a leader." If you're the head coach, you need to be making sure that you have the right people being the leaders of your team. You're not going to just let some random guy pick out, "Oh, this guy looks like a good leader. Oh, you know what? He's been in the league longer than he has. He's going to be the leader." You need to make sure that it's somebody who actually treats your other teammates with respect and actually wants to do better as a team and not degrade people. So,
and Joe Philbin, this is just my opinion, he should not be the head coach of that team. After everything that's gone down this year, you go 7-9 your first season, 8-8.
You blew the playoffs. I mean,
he blew
you
the
had
playoffs.
to win one game in the last two in order to ensure that the Chargers don't pass you. They lost both. The Chargers happened to squeeze by the Kansas City Chiefs in the last game of the year and get into the playoffs. But they choked away the season. That was their own fault, and I don't think Philbin will be back after this season, especially if something like that happens
They're
again.
just not a good organization, dude. You look at the top-tier organizations in the league, I think of teams like the Giants, the Steelers, the Ravens, New England, San Francisco. I mean, you could argue Seattle's in that group of teams now. And that's what it's all about in the NFL, man. It's about being a part of a solid organization.
Yep.
And you look at these teams, they just suck year in and year out. Like, I feel bad for somebody that's legitimately a Jacksonville Jaguars fan. I mean,
bad every year.
They're bad every year. It doesn't matter who the head coach is. It doesn't matter who you draft in the first round. I mean, who you bring in as a free agent, they suck year in and year out.
Always.
Top 10 draft pick. What, 4 of the last 5 years?
They haven't found a good GM. I don't think the owner's going to be, finding a good GM anytime soon. I think they're going to end up moving to a different... I mean, who knows? They're probably going to be the favorite to move here up to Los Angeles if they do end up getting a football team. So, but speaking back on the Giants as one of the class organizations, they did have a good signing, in my opinion, with Rashad Jennings.
Oh, Rashad? Yeah.
Oakland didn't re-sign him, but they decided to re-sign McFadden for a 1-year, $4 million deal when he gets hurt every single year and he never plays. Rashad Jennings had over 1,000 yards. I mean, that guy was my fantasy savior. He's the only reason I went as far as I did last season. So,
me and T-Mac here, we were in the same fantasy football league, and he was just in the dumps, last place, and this guy just inched his way up and made a legitimate push.
Well, I had every single bad running back, or I had a good running back. Ray Rice obviously tanked last year. It was my number one pick.
Man, honestly,
then he got hurt. Eddie Lacy got hurt. And I had three, and then I had Maurice Jones-Drew who tanked, and they all got 3 hurt in the second week of the season, then the same week.
I was done. My whole season tanked when Julio Jones went down. It was over. It was over. He was done. I could not pick up
the season.
Yeah, I couldn't pick up the slack, dude.
Yeah, but Rashad Jennings to the Giants I thought was a really good pickup as well, just because. I mean, who did they have at running back? What, they brought Brandon Jacobs back?
Oh, man, he's
finished. He's finished. He went to San Francisco, did nothing, got let go, went back to the Giants, and did nothing again.
Yeah,
so
I mean...
He's not coming back.
No, he's done. But they also have David Wilson. I mean, he has some fumbling issues, but...
And some injury issues, breaking his leg 2 times already, so...
But I think he's going to be a pretty solid player. They just got to give him the reps, man. Once he gets those reps, then you have a guy like Rashad... And I think the Raiders were thinking about taking Andre Brown off the Giants, or they were talking to him. But with that being said, that backfield's going to be decent. Now,
yes,
if they lose Hakeem Nicks, I don't know what you do with your receivers, because who do you have? They got Jernigan, they've got Cruz.
Yeah,
but that's it, man.
Cruz, in my opinion, is a top 5 receiver in the league. I mean, he's fast. He can catch the deep ball. He doesn't drop a lot of passes, and he's a good touchdown target. I mean, but that, what's his name? The opposite receiver of him. Oh, Hakeem Nicks, who's on free agency right now. If he can stay healthy, Hakeem Nicks, I mean, he's going to be a top 10 receiver in the league. I mean, he was when he was healthy. So,
dude,
but you have to take a gamble and see if it pays off.
The play that I remember most from that guy's career, was a couple seasons ago when the Giants beat the Patriots the second time, and they were playing in Green Bay. I believe it was the divisional round. Green Bay had a bye because they went 15-1, and they were the number 1 seed. It's like right before halftime. Eli Manning lobs it in the air. Yeah. Hail Marys. Touchdown, Hakeem Nicks, right before the half.
I think that might be something that, because I don't think he's going to demand a lot of money. I think he's going to be strictly looking for a 1-year deal to prove himself in order to get the bigger contract after that year. So I think that, that might be somebody that the Chargers want to look at. I mean, they're losing Malcolm Floyd. He's probably career done. He's probably not coming back. Denario Alexander, you've torn your ACL 4 times. I don't think you're ever coming back.
Oh, his NFL career is without a doubt in jeopardy, man.
So you have Vincent Brown, Keenan Allen, and you have...
Oh, man. Well, Eddie Royal. They restructured Royal, but he's going to be gone after next season.
I mean, he's a bubble screen guy, though. He's not run across the middle, catch the ball, go deep, catch the ball. Hakeem Nicks has speed when he's healthy. He can catch the deep ball. He's a physical, big receiver, so he can get off the line. Contact doesn't disturb him too much.
Yeah.
But they need to look at a receiver, and they need to obviously look at a defensive back. And just coming down the wire, it looks like Darrelle Revis just got released from Tampa Bay. That was a long-lasted 1 year, 60 or $96 million deal.
The thing is with Revis, without question, is like the top corner in the league. I mean, I think Richard Sherman's great. I think Richard Sherman also has one of the best front sevens in the league, if not the best.
Absolutely.
So, you're going to be the best when you have, you know what I mean? When you cover a guy for...
rushers,
when you can cover a guy for a short amount of time, but when you're out there in space... I mean, Revis is decent.
Revis is a good player. I mean, 3 years ago we were talking about he was the greatest thing ever since, Deion Sanders and all this crazy stuff.
Yeah, well...
I mean, he's still a great player. Nobody, in my opinion, as far as a cornerback is concerned, is worth $96 million. I mean, if you're making that much money, you better be playing quarterback.
Yeah, he's 28, arguably in the prime of his career, made the Pro Bowl with Tampa Bay. I mean, I saw some of the highlights. He was still playing well. $16 million a year? Hell no, dude. No. Hell no.
I mean, they said if you would have restructured his contract down to taking about $10 million a year, they would have kept him.
See, but that's the thing. If he doesn't want to lower his salary...
He's not going to find another team. Nobody's going to pay him what Tampa Bay paid him.
No, exactly. Like, he doesn't want to lower his salary. He expects $16 million a year. It's like Jared Allen. These teams, they don't want to pay these guys that contract. They're just like, no, like we're not going to pay that. Like Jared Allen, he came out saying if he doesn't get a fair deal, he's walking away.
Yeah, I mean...
But,
I don't know. People shouldn't base it on the money. They should play it to try and win a Super Bowl. Jared Allen never has. I mean, he played in Kansas City and in Minnesota. He's played for some terrible teams.
Oh, yeah. So, he was the Charger killer when he was in Kansas City.
He should be looking for something like, let's go to a playoff contender, take a little bit of less money, and let's see if I can win a championship. And, I mean, that's the thing, is there's so many good edge rushers in the free agency. Like, Chicago released Julius Peppers, 8-time Pro Bowl.
That's another name, dude. And I was thinking, like, these players, like, it's getting to the point where even if you have the numbers to back up the contract that you think is fair, these teams aren't going to pay you. So you're up against not playing at all or going to play for somebody for some number.
Yeah.
These people, it's all about the money. I understand the league is a business, first and foremost, and the people that understand that from the get-go are the ones that succeed, but...
I understand they want to get paid. You want to hit your big payday in the NFL when you go to the NFL, but at a certain point, you got to look at it as, is it all about the money or is it about winning? I think winning a Super Bowl is a lot more important than getting a $96 million deal. Me personally, I'd be happy to take $50 million and be on a team that has a chance to win a Super Bowl.
And I was joking with another friend this week when I heard that Red Bryant signed with the Jaguars on a 4-year, like $22 million deal.
Win for the money.
I'm just gonna say right now, I don't know if that's the real numbers, so don't take that. Don't take that as a fact. But what I said jokingly to him was like, "Hey, man, like we're looking at a player that just stomped the Denver Broncos in the Super Bowl, gets a ring, up for free agency. What does he do? He's gonna take a fat contract on a crappy team. He's gonna go down there. He's gonna chill on the beach in Florida, collect his paycheck, and look at his ring from Seattle, and just finish out his career."
Seattle couldn't afford him after they paid Michael Bennett all the money that they did to retain him. And then they just released Chris Clemens today too. So
Chris Clemens is a monster.
He's on the free agent market. That's another good edge rusher that you have a chance to have on your team if you really want them.
Without a doubt, dude. Is there anybody? Okay, we obviously already touched on Donald Brown, but is there anybody like kind of middle of the road that you could see the Chargers picking up as a depth move? I know they're talking about a linebacker out of Indianapolis, Connors or something, but I don't really know much about that guy's resume. But do you know of anybody you could think of off the free agent pool?
I think that there's some decent receivers that you can get for a good price off the free agent market. I mean, Golden Tate is probably going to want the most money, and he's a good player, though.
He just got signed.
Oh, did he get signed today?
Detroit
did finally sign. I know he was meeting with Detroit. I didn't know if they came to
on a 5-year. But you know what? That guy. I don't know if he's going to be legit across from Calvin Johnson. Yeah. He's more of like that possession slot guy, in my opinion. But
yeah, no. I mean, the Chargers, they need a nose tackle for sure. But I think they're going to have to do that in the draft. They're going to take care of it. But their best chance. I mean, we're in the bottom half of available salary cap with the Chargers this season. We're still trying to get out from under A.J. Smith. So there's not a lot of money for the Chargers just to throw around at these guys. They have like $16 million to spend right now.
Yeah, but after next season, I think it's 2015, the Chargers are going to have, like, they're going to be like the Raiders. They're going to have a ton of cap space.
Yep.
But that's why, like, I laugh at these moves by the Broncos because, they're literally in a win now mentality.
Yeah.
And with that being said, I mean, the Chargers, they're going to build through the draft as you should. And that means they're going to have 5 years of contention. As with when our draft picks hit their prime, the Broncos are going to be, in the cellar of the division.
Yeah. I mean, the Broncos in a few years are going to be...
Like, I say 2015, 2016, they're going to be full rebuild.
But you know what they're trying to do? I mean, Peyton Manning has 2 years left probably,
Maybe not. Maybe one.
Maybe one. I mean... His neck seemed fine after the exam and everything, so I think he's probably going to play out his contract that he signed more than likely.
He just can't stretch the field anymore.
He doesn't have an arm. I mean, it's like Sherman said going into the Super Bowl media day. Yeah, he throws ducks. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of balls. I mean, being a San Diego fan, we get to watch Peyton 2 times a year, and a lot of those balls he throws are wobbling and. He definitely doesn't have the arm strength, but he has the accuracy still.
And I think that's why they probably lost that game. Because they did not think the Seahawks were as good as they were.
No, the Seahawks defense is definitely the best in the league. They're unbelievable. I mean, what you didn't even have Brandon Browner playing. I mean, he was suspended. I mean, that's a 6'4" cornerback who's a monster.
Dude, Cam Chancellor, the hits he was laying, the Broncos were like, no.
Yeah, Welker didn't want to go over the middle and mess with Cam Chancellor. He was like, I already got a couple concussions this year. I don't want another one. I'm good.
I mean, they were just taking full control. A lot of people say that game sucked and it was boring, but you know what? I've had to watch the Broncos and the Chargers face off for however many years now, and just seeing that happen, I have to say, dude, watching the Broncos get their ass kicked was fully satisfying, just as a Chargers fan, and that's all I got to say about that, man. I mean, satisfaction guaranteed.
Satisfaction, yeah. Free agency, it's definitely off to a good start so far this year. It's
a lot of
surprise stuff. I mean, I didn't expect to see Julius Peppers released. I definitely didn't think Grievous was going to get released going into this.
Or Bird going to the Saints.
Bird going to the Saints. I mean, the Saints definitely got a great player in Jarius Bird. I think that's a huge addition to them because their defense, I mean, they lost Jonathan Vilma. They released him. They released a lot of their defensive starters from last season. I mean, obviously Vilma since the whole bounty gate thing.
Yeah,
and all that,
but then they get rid of Will Smith too.
They got rid of Will Smith. I mean, I like that they went for Jarius Bird because I mean he's not super old yet.
No, he's a pretty young
still
guy.
A younger guy. He's 25, 26.
And he's all pro.
He's an all pro.
But I don't know, dude. Like a lot of low, like not top names, I should say. A lot of big names are still out there. By the time we're done with this conversation, there's going to be a ton more signings that we'll touch on later. But as of right now, it's been pretty interesting. I'm pretty satisfied. I'm pretty I'm just looking forward to what San Diego is going to do eventually, mainly with the draft. I mean,
last year we didn't sign anybody on free agency until like day number 3 of free agency. So, I mean, they've actually dipped in a little bit quicker with that Donald Brown signing than they had last year. But there's just, like I said, they just don't have very much money. So, they got to get all these top tier guys off the market and let it cool down a little bit so that way they can sign some guys to some, cap-friendly contracts that aren't going to kill them. But they're definitely going to have to build through the draft. Your first-round pick this year, you have to take probably either a nose tackle if there's somebody worth it at their number one pick. And if not, you got to go either if there's a top-end wide receiver still on the board that, got overlooked, I think that might be a good option. But defense should be their main concern because their offense is great.
Do you think in the first round, 25th overall is like not that great of a spot? But do you think they go nose tackle or do they go corner? I think they should go corner. I think they should trade up somehow and get Gilbert, dude.
Sharice Wright did improve. So that's not a terrible thing. That's why I'm kind of leaning more towards a nose tackle because, Kendall Reyes and Cam Thomas? Cam Thomas has flopped ever since he's been in the league, so he's really
I was thinking that a lot of people are talking about Notre Dame's Lewis Nix, and then I'm thinking more so like Aaron Donald, dude. That guy's combine, beast. Total beast.
Good player, big and physical, strong, but I don't know. Nose tackle seems like a good plan. They just need a lot of help. They overachieved last year, let's be honest. Nobody thought they were going with what they did, and there's still a lot of holes. When you look at that team, it's like, man, they still need a lot of help. You know what I mean?
Every team early in the year, their quarterback looked like a Pro Bowler against our secondary, man.
The way we're talking about it sounds like we had a team that won 5 games last year, but really they were 9-7. They won a playoff game. But
they played really well at the end.
They overachieved.
At the end of the year, they gelled really well, and that's something to build on. So I'm looking forward to it, man. They're on the rise back up.
They're definitely going back up.
They should have fired Norv Turner after the 2011 season. Yep. That 2012, they should have fired both those guys.
Yeah, AJ Smith definitely got him into a bad cap space. So give it another 2 years, and they may have some big time players, kind of like when they had LT and Gates.
Yeah, I just don't. Like I said, I'm gonna go back to it. Free agency is not the answer. We've been, as Charger fans, we got burned last year. 2012. None of those guys are on the team anymore. Yeah, they're all cut.
Nobody panned out. Nobody did. One thing is I'm hoping this year for the Chargers that hopefully Dwight Freeney can come back and actually do something.
Yeah. Dwight would, when he's healthy,
Melvin Ingram will be back in full capacity. He only played, 4 games and then the playoff game last year.
And he had a presence.
And he actually had a good year. For the 5 games that he played, his 5 games were good, especially coming off an ACL injury. And as quickly as he came off the ACL injury, I was kind of surprised. So next year, being 100% healthy, 100% strong on that knee, I think we're going to have a much better pass rush. But I'd also look at, maybe if they do want to move up in the draft, you trade your first-round pick, and maybe Dwight Freeney's an asset that you can use to bump up in the draft. So.
And me and Louie, Lou, he's going to be coming on the podcast, I think later on in the week or maybe next week we plan something. But we had a discussion as recently as, just yesterday. Last night, and dude, we were thinking if you're gonna sign Donald Brown to what is it, $10 million, $3 years, and you got Ryan Mathewson in a contract year, that can only mean a couple different things. That means A, you're gonna let Ryan walk at the end of his rookie deal, or B, you're gonna package him in a deal to trade up in the draft. Or you're going to trade him to acquire a pick. Think about it. What? Brown could be Telesco's guy.
Yeah, I know Telesco likes Brown from Indianapolis. He brought Dwight Freeney in as well. But I just don't think you can discount what Matthews did last year with the 1,200 yards. He was a workhorse. He carried the ball 30 times in, I think, 2 or 3 different games that year.
Yeah.
So, he definitely redeemed himself in my eyes as far as being a durable back. I know he had his little injury problems towards the end of the playoffs, but I think a lot of backs would have had an injury if you carried the ball 30 times for the last 4 games in a row. 25 games.
He's had a string of bad luck his whole career. I don't think it's a durability thing. I think he's just...
it's like they said, you have a better chance to get struck by lightning than break both your collarbones in the same season.
Terrible.
You can't help that. My brother and my dad have both broken their collarbones. It's not something that's easy to do.
No, especially when you're a running back or even a linebacker for that matter. Somebody that gets hit or does the hitting, and you have a broken collarbone, you can't play through it.
Anything. Yeah, there's nothing you can do. And he obviously got knocked hard. I'm not going to sit here and say I wasn't one of the guys who knocked him because when he had his little elbow injury in his rookie year, white taped elbow. Come on. And then obviously his fumble problems. Last year was a much better year when it comes to fumbling for Matthews as well. So I hope that he is gaining more confidence. I hope he is learning. And I don't think that the Chargers should get rid of him. I mean, obviously, if he has a terrible year this year, or he gets hurt, he's out for the whole year, then you probably don't put a risk on it and you keep Donald Brown. But Chargers, they're definitely on the rise, but they definitely do still need a lot of help. Their offense kind of helped out their defense last year. Rivers finally coming back into form and playing like Phillip Rivers.
We needed that. And Phillip, he's not that old yet. He'll be on the team. He'll probably retire a Charger, which, how often can a guy come into a league, such as the NFL, not for long, and put together a career? I know we all want him to get a Super Bowl, but even if he doesn't, we're talking about a guy that's played for the same team his whole career. Arguably, he could be 13, 14-year veteran playing for the Chargers, much like a Dan Fouts, and be a legend.
One thing that I always think about, though, is like, what would have ever happened? I mean, say we don't get rid of Drew Brees and we re-sign him after his shoulder injury. I mean, maybe the Chargers have a Super Bowl. I mean, Brees went to the Saints and won a Super Bowl. I mean, now obviously you have to build the team around him, but Brees, I mean, throwing over 5,000 yards, 3 times in his career now? No quarterback's even done it more than once.
Yeah, I think my personal opinion on Brees is when he went to the Saints, he went to a great situation.
Yeah.
Sean Payton, great mind.
Good coach.
But I have to say, Drew Brees plays much better in a controlled environment where he doesn't have to go against the rain. He doesn't have to play on real grass. And I know it sounds crazy, but there's a difference when you see him play quarterback. When he plays on the turf as opposed to when he's outdoors in the element. I mean, they talked about this going into that Philly playoff game, but I totally agree with that. But, he's a great quarterback, and it is something to ponder, man. I mean, if he was on the Chargers, would they have taken the next step with him as their quarterback, or would they be kind of subpar? But, it all happens for a reason, man. Phillip Rivers is waiting in the wings. And he's been a great quarterback for us. I mean, a couple of down years, but, I mean, come on, A.J. Smith.
Norv Turner, A.J. Smith, I mean, they had a lot of affection on what happened to him there, so.
Yeah, but, dude, A.J. Smith, the offensive line he put together for Phillip Rivers' worst career year, I mean, they didn't even know who was going to start against the Pittsburgh Steelers a couple years back. I mean, they were bringing people off the streets. That's not how you build a team.
It's not.
And it just, he built something up with Marty. Yep. And then tore it down. And
when Norv came.
Norv Turner was kind of the scapegoat, but Norv had to go too. I didn't like his persona as a coach, man.
Yeah.
He was not a pleaser of the fans. He just the status quo, man, but that's why those guys are gone.
Staying on the topic of Drew Brees too, in the Saints, I mean, what do you think about Sproles getting released or traded? I mean, Sproles is a great player for them. I mean, he does a lot of things. He has...
Darren Sproles is beast out of the backfield, and his receiving ability, dude, is, next to who else? That guy knows what to do. I mean, in the screen game, he's a monster. Yeah. He's a beast.
Being former San Diego Charger, I mean, he did a lot of good things for the Chargers. He was electric in the return game for us.
Oh, man.
Hasn't been as great for the Saints in the return game, but... I think he's definitely been a whole lot better in the receiving game for the Saints than he was for the Chargers.
I just hope they don't trade him back to the AFC West. Like, I hope he doesn't go to the Broncos. And it's like another signing by the Broncos.
They didn't take Noshawn Moreno back. They let him test the free agent market. So, I mean, they are going to be in need of a running back unless they're staying with strictly Monte Ball and Ronnie Hillman. But, I mean, Hillman was fumbling last year, and they didn't even let him dress.
Yeah, no, Hillman wasn't even... Yeah, no.
And Hillman being a former San Diego State guy, I mean, last year, not the most recent year here, but the year before that, Hillman was actually a good productive back for them.
He was really good.
Yeah, he was
all of a sudden not playing, so Chargers should trade. No, I'm just
trade for him now. But, I mean, that's pretty much what's happening in free agency right now. We've pretty much covered just about everything. Specific numbers on contracts and stuff. There's a few of them on here. I mean,
yeah, and we don't know the exact numbers on
everything's reported in sources right now. But I mean, DeMarcus Ware's reported just over the wire here the past few hours. 3 years, $20 million. That's kind of or 3 years, $30 million, $20 million of that is guaranteed, excuse me. So that's a lot of money to drop, and I mean, he's a good player and all, but I mean, you look at the Broncos, 6 years, $57 million for Aqib Talib, and then you have 3 years, $30 million for DeMarcus Ware. I just don't know where they're going to be getting any of their draft picks. I mean, they're going to be spent. I mean, they're going to
trade away the whole draft. Like,
and
they took what was it? The dude from here, San Diego, Ricky Williams. The Saints did trade away your whole draft for the one player. That's what the Broncos are going to do this year.
I mean, that's pretty much what's happening. But I mean, in other news, other sports, other things, obviously got the NCAA tournament coming up here with
big time. Cannot wait for that.
It's going to be a great tournament this year. It's kind of a wide open. I mean, you think one team's the best in the league, and then you look at like Syracuse, they're 25-0, and then they lose 4 or 5 games, and you're like, okay, well, we thought they were going undefeated, and now they're outside the top 10 in the rankings after. So,
dude, the rankings, the college basketball rankings blow my mind.
Yeah, they don't.
I don't know who puts that together, dude. But it doesn't make any sense whatsoever.
Wichita State's way overlooked. I mean, you look at a team that was in the Final Four last year. You knew they were good, and I mean, you look at Wichita State. You look at all these how basketball in college is now. Everything's one and done. Oh, I'm a freshman. I'm the best.
Yeah.
1 year. All right, I'm going to the NBA. You look at Wichita State. They have 5 seniors starting.
Is Wichita State legit, dude?
They went to the Final Four last year.
Yeah, no, that's the thing.
I mean,
that's the thing. They did go,
and they're an all-senior team. They're experienced. They have the chemistry as a team. A lot of these, big powerhouse schools like Duke and North Carolina and Kentucky, they get all the top recruits, but all the top recruits don't want to play in college. They want to play 1 year because they have to, and then they're out to the NBA to make the money.
Dude, I like NCAA college basketball is, in my opinion, much more enjoyable than the NBA. I know you're a big NBA fan, big Lakers fan.
Always.
Speaking of Kobe Bryant, dude, he signs that extension. Now he's out for the year. What do you think's to become of his career, man? I mean, is he...
I think he's going to... I mean...
Is he going to make a comeback? Is the Black Mamba going to make a comeback, dude?
I think he's going to be... I definitely think he's going to be back. As far as how well he's going to play and if he's going to be the old Kobe Bryant. I mean, here's the thing, is this injury that he has... He played the entire second half of the game when he broke his knee or broke part of his knee on that broken knee. So it was something that, it's painful, but he was able to even play through it even though it was broken. So once it's fully healed, I don't think that it's going to hinder him as much. I'm still kind of concerned about the Achilles just because, I mean, he hurt his knee 6 games into coming back from his Achilles injury. So he really didn't get into the motions of the season. You really didn't play a lot of games.
I wish that they would have brought Phil back, man.
Tony needs to be fired.
Why did they even hire that guy?
Yeah.
It was like a last minute hiring. Phil Jackson, though,
Phil Jackson kind of got burned.
Yeah, but isn't he linked to go to the Knicks now this week or something?
Yeah, reported as of today, I was listening to it actually on Dan Patrick. They were saying that he's actually flying into New York with Jeannie Buss, who's actually part owner of the Lakers. The Buss family owns the Lakers. They're married or whatever and all that. But they're flying in together, which only means one thing, that Phil Jackson's probably going to be announced here either tomorrow or Friday, that he is going to be either the president or the general manager.
But he's not going to coach. He's going to be behind, everything else. That he's going to be a front office guy.
Yeah.
Which is great. That guy knows exactly what he's doing.
When I was on my way here and listening to Dan Patrick on the way here, they were saying that Steve Kerr is actually going to be the head candidate for the head coaching job after the season.
Steve Kerr is local guy.
Yeah,
I think his son goes to college at University of San Diego.
Yeah. So I mean, that's Steve Kerr, obviously a great NBA player, played for the Chicago Bulls, great 3-point guy. But played with Jordan and Pippen when Phil Jackson. The
big
funny
timers,
thing
is playing with the big timers.
Steve Kerr's been a general manager before. He's never coached. Phil Jackson's never been a general manager, but he's coached. So I think that they can kind of teach each other a lot of stuff about each position since they've both done it before. But I think Jackson's done as far as the coaching's concerned. I'm pretty sure he's not ever going to go back to coaching. He's over 70 years old now, so I wouldn't blame him. It's a lot of stress. You travel a lot. But I don't know. We'll see what happens with the Lakers. They need to sign a lot of guys.
Yeah.
This year's been obviously super pathetic. A lot of injuries. I mean, obviously, Steve Nash didn't pan out when they brought Steve Nash over.
And I like Steve, dude. Steve's a quality player, but, man, he didn't pan out, and neither did Dwight.
Yeah, Dwight Howard, I mean, he came over for that 1 year. And, I mean, I'm going to sit here and say that Dwight Howard, I was one of the people who bashed him, and I was so pissed off that he wasn't coming back to the Lakers.
Yeah.
But, I mean, you got to look at it from his point of view and his perspective. I mean, if you have a chance to go to Houston with James Harden, and he's only 26 years old.
Oh, dude,
he's a top player.
Houston's killing it.
And then you got Dwight Howard, and then Chandler Parsons coming out of Florida. I mean, I watched him play in the NCAA tournament. I mean, he rained threes. What's he doing in the NBA? He's one of the best three-point shooters in the league. So, I mean, you put those three guys together, and then you look at, like, obviously they have Jeremy Lin. He actually comes off the bench now.
Lin Sanity? Whatever happened to that dude?
I mean, he's still a good player. I mean, you know, obviously he got on a hot streak in New York, and he got super hyped up. I mean, it's New York. You're in the big market. You know, everybody looks at you. So that kind of got overblown. But, I mean, he's still a good player. But Patrick Beverley, who replaced him in the starting lineup, I think is a much better player.
Yeah.
I actually like watching the game yesterday. They played Oklahoma City, and last year, obviously, Patrick Beverley tried to steal the ball from Russell Westbrook, and he tore his meniscus when Westbrook was trying to call timeout, and they got into it in the game yesterday. It was the first time they'd faced each other since Westbrook had been back, so they got into a little bit of a scuffle. That was kind of fun to watch, but definitely in the NBA this year. We'll get back to the March Madness tournament here in a minute, but in the NBA, you definitely have to look at, obviously, Oklahoma City. San Antonio's best record in the league right now.
See, but you know what I disagree with the NBA is the whole lottery draft system, man.
Yeah.
I mean, if they ran it similar to, the NFL,
they've been talking about changing it.
It would just make it more competitive, dude. I mean, that's the thing. Like, I'm a huge NFL fan, first and foremost. I like Major League Baseball, too. But it's the money, dude.
Yeah.
It's the money.
Yep.
And it's like
baseball, especially with the money. I mean, that's like, I don't even like to talk about baseball contracts because it's like these guys get so much money compared to everybody else, and it's just like nobody's worth that amount of money.
Robinson Cano,
$240 million on 10 years. You're getting $24 million a year, and you're not even going to be playing for 10 years. But that's guaranteed money. It doesn't matter if you get hurt. When you sign baseball contract, it's all guaranteed.
Dude, Robinson Cano got the fat contract, putting on some weight.
I mean, look at the Yankees are the biggest spenders. Obviously, I love the Yankees, but I personally, if I was the Yankees, I wouldn't want to spend $240 million on a guy either. Look at what they did with A-Rod. They paid him $275 million, and look at how he panned out. Taking steroids and suspended for the whole entire next season. Yeah, I mean, it obviously doesn't get paid for this coming season, but you sign these guys thinking that they're going to be a long-term contract, they're going to be a long-term deal, they're going to help your team for a while, and A-Rod's been hurt. He's obviously, in his first few years, he won the MVP, they won a World Series, but since then, he hasn't done anything.
Dude. See, this is why I decided to have T-Mac on the Wednesday Evening Podcast. This guy knows everything about everything. He's a student of the statistics. He knows the contract situation. He knows the players. This is why we have him here, man.
Absolutely. I'm glad to be here.
I'm happy to have him in the studio. We can just talk about this all day, which we're going to. But SDSU, dude, I mean...
Yeah, number 8 team in the country, probably the most overlooked team in the country. I mean, you look at Joe Lunardi on ESPN, for example. I can't handle that guy, just to be honest with you.
Yeah.
But you look at his seedings. He has SDSU ranked as a number 5 seed, but you're ranked number 8 in the country. And you're ranking a team in Kansas who San Diego State beat, and you're ranking them as a number 2 seed, and they have 8 losses compared to San Diego State being 27-3. San Diego State beat them. San Diego State beat Creighton.
It's the Mountain West, man. So, nobody respects the West.
I mean, you look at New Mexico. New Mexico was an AP preseason top 25 team. And SDSU was supposed to be one of the middle of the road to bottom of the road teams in the Mountain West this year. They had a lot of transfers.
They clinch.
And look at, Steve Fisher, don't get me wrong. He's probably one of the best coaches in the entire country. I'd put him in the top 5.
Steve Fisher?
Dude.
That guy's been in the game for years. And
yeah.
he's a true player's coach, man. I'm a fan. I'm a huge fan of Steve.
Steve Fisher's a great guy. He obviously coaches well. You look at San Diego State. Before he got there, they'd never had 20-win seasons. This year was their probably, I think, like 6th 20-win or 8th 20-win or something like that season since he's been there.
Mm-hmm.
And he put him back on the map. And, you look at him at number 8, they still don't get the love. But, you look at these stats. Their defense is really what brings them into play here. 57 points a game. They're only giving up 38% shooting. The only problem that they have is obviously their offense. I mean, they're 43% shooting.
But for whatever reason, they always go on a run when they need to go on a run.
Yeah,
I mean, every game I've seen this season, they're down. There's limited time left, and they go on a run.
I mean, when's the last time you got to see San Diego State storm the court like they did against New Mexico the other night? I mean, you're down by 16 points with 12 minutes left in the game, and they go on a 17-1 run to tie the game. They end up winning by 3 points. And I mean, you got to give a lot of the credit to Xavier Thames. He won Mountain West Conference Player of the Year this year over Bairstow. Bairstow is obviously from New Mexico, but Bairstow torched him in the first meeting.
Quality players. This team is like even better than the team from a few years ago. I mean,
defensively they are. Offensively they struggle.
They just need that guy that can hit the three, dude.
Yeah, Shrigley is actually a decent 3-point shooter. Xavier Thames, I mean, he was so hot for the first 23 games of the season for about a 6-7 game stretch here. He's really cooled off. He's been a little bit under achieving, really bad shooting. I mean, some games he was like 3 for 17 and shooting pretty terribly there. But definitely I would say San Diego State's a team to watch out for just because they play great defense.
Dude, on the topic of San Diego State, have you been following the story on Brandon Muema?
I followed it a little bit. I mean, I don't know what's up with that dude at this point.
The guy bails on the NFL Combine. He sits in the airport for 3 days by himself in his Combine clothes. Ends up flying back to the facility he was training at. And he tweets, I think this was like a few days ago, he tweets and he says, there will be no football season next year unless there is another planet Earth.
Yeah, he's saying
like,
the world's going to end.
Is this guy smoking some kind of strain of something that we've never seen before? Because
I mean,
this guy has no idea what he's not going to have a football career.
Yeah, no, he's not going to the NFL. I mean, if somebody wants to take a chance on him, nobody's going to draft him. Sure.
Without a doubt.
So, I mean, if he gets his act together and he starts, working out for some teams and they think he has a little bit of potential, maybe. But I think he's already finished.
I thought that was the most bizarre story coming out of the Combine. I mean, we're talking about a guy with promise, a young guy, even younger than we are, and he's just not thinking right. I mean, it's one thing to be religious, but I mean, when there's that kind of opportunity and you're not really thinking about the opportunity.
If you want to be religious, you can be religious and all that, but I mean, at a certain point, you got to make sure that your religion doesn't come into making a living for yourself.
He went as far as to say he's going to play for the Seahawks.
Yeah, and that's why he left the Combine. He said God told him that he was going to play for the Seahawks and that he didn't need to be at the Combine. And it's just like, I mean, that tells... I mean, I'm not going to sit here and discredit on religion or anything like that, but come on.
But I mean, what does somebody have to hear? Is he hearing things? I mean, people are nuts, dude.
Yeah, people are out there.
Nuts.
People don't know what they're doing sometimes, but I mean, yeah, he was a San Diego State guy.
And San Diego State, though, I mean,
they produce some decent players.
If we're gonna talk all SDSU prospects, we're talking baseball, football, and basketball. They've been churning out pros the last 5 years, and they're good.
I mean, one of the top 5 aces in Steven Strasburg plays for the Washington Nationals in the major leagues.
Coming back from that Tommy John, just.
He didn't. I mean, that's the thing is everybody's like, oh, they have to have Tommy John surgery. Oh, you have to have ACL surgery. Technology's so advanced now. All these guys, it doesn't even matter if you get those injuries anymore. Yeah, 10, 15 years ago, it mattered. You probably weren't going to be the same. But now you look at Dr. James Andrews and this guy.
No, exactly. And the advances in all of the medical technology for pro sports. I mean, you were talking about Wes Welker tearing his ACL 8 months later, starting in the opening game with a whole new knee.
Yeah.
And like you said, dude, before all of that, there was no way you were going to make a comeback in your career. But now there's just so much. There's so much more, man.
There's a lot more.
I mean,
a lot more.
You can just have how many hip injuries and still get a $57 million deal like Talib over in Denver now? I mean,
yeah.
It's wild, man. It's just a wild, crazy time.
Yeah, but I mean, going back to the NCAA tournament, I definitely think that there's going to be a wide open tournament. I mean, who knows? We may not even see a 1 or a 2 seed make it to the Final Four. I mean, Syracuse, not that great. Duke is one of my favorite teams. Obviously, I love SDSU as well. But those are my 2 teams. And I mean, Duke, they're good. They don't play that great of defense. They kind of rely on Hood and Parker only to score the points. Jabari Parker, I mean, I hope he comes back. I think he could benefit from coming back to school, not leaving out, playing out a sophomore season. But he, great rebounder, averages a double-double a game. Career high 30 points against North Carolina, most for a freshman. For Duke against North Carolina.
And it's like you said, man, these freshmen, they just tear it up and then they go.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous, man.
I mean, they're good, don't get me wrong. But they're not that good when they leave that early.
I think, tell me if I'm crazy, but do you think this is a good idea? I think this is a great idea. Every college establishment, whether it be football, baseball, or basketball, for that matter, what if they required you to graduate before you could declare?
Well, they've been talking about making it an age limit on the NBA. They're talking about increasing it again, so it would make guys, more than likely have to stay in college for 2 years rather than staying for 1 year.
Well,
so
I mean, don't you think it would benefit these players though if they graduated with their degree and then declared? And the only way you could declare is if you passed all your finals and everything.
But some of these guys do. But then you're forcing a guy to go to college at that point. You're forcing him. What if the guy doesn't want to go to college? I mean, the reason he's in college is to play sports. That's what he's always done. And then you get to the point where, should we be paying these college athletes?
I know, but then again, like, it's part of the requirement. Like, if you want to ball out, like, in college to be, the pro scouts take notice of you, it should be part of the requirement. Like, yeah, you can showcase your skills, but you have to showcase it for 4 years.
Yeah, and I'm all for keeping guys the full duration of college. Because you become a better player, you learn how to play as a team better.
Yeah, but you just have these guys, man. They come out too early, and the same thing goes with the NFL, dude. Like, you got these like juniors coming out. They played 9 games in a collegiate career, and now they think they can go pro, and these guys aren't ready for it. I mean, it's all about being ready, and that's why people whiff in all the first rounds of all these drafts, man. Is they don't have these. They just can't see what's in these people.
I mean,
if
football,
they can really
in my opinion, is a lot different. I think you grow and you have to learn a lot more when it comes to football versus like basketball. I mean, basketball, obviously there's a learning curve from college to the NBA, but I don't think it's as drastic as college football to the NFL.
Yeah,
I don't think that's as big of as small of a learning curve as there is over there in the NBA from NCAA. But I think college basketball wise, that's the sport that has the biggest problem with not retaining players and not retaining student athletes. Football, I mean, they don't allow you to be coming out after a freshman. You have to play your sophomore season in order to come out.
Yeah.
So basketball's not like that. That's why they're trying to lean more towards, you have to play at least 2 years in college in basketball as well, which I think is fair.
Do you buy into this story that's going around talking about, forget which NBA team it is, but they're absolutely garbage? And do you
talking about the Milwaukee Bucks?
Yeah. Are they tanking the season on purpose?
I mean, what? I don't even. Last time I saw their record, I haven't really looked at it because they're not even worth talking about, to be honest. But last time I saw them, they had 9 wins. They hadn't even broke the 10-win mark yet.
In the whole season?
In the whole season. And I mean, there's only, 20 games left in the NBA season. So, I mean, they're probably not trying as hard as they can. But I mean, that's the thing with the NBA. That's one thing that I do like about the draft system that they have. They don't allow teams to tank because tanking doesn't mean you're getting the first pick.
That's the thing about the NBA though, dude, is like, we already touched on the whole lottery thing, but like when I think about it, dude, I want to see some other teams in the dance. Like I want to see Jimmer Fredette, dude.
He went to the Chicago Bulls.
Oh, he's on the Bulls now?
Yeah, the Kings actually released him or waived him, I guess, and then he went to Chicago. So.
Well, you see all these teams, like all these, like, not top teams, like just these really low teams. I want to see them get competitive.
I mean, you look at the Eastern Conference of the NBA, and you look at, we have the Miami Heat, and we have the Indiana Pacers.
I like the Pacers, dude.
Everybody else below 500. The number 3 seed is below 500, and you have to put 8 teams in the playoffs. So you have 5 teams in one division or in one conference that's under 500. And then you look at the Western Conference, and you look at San Antonio and Oklahoma City and Houston and Memphis Grizzlies, and you have all these great teams. I mean, Phoenix Suns, for example. I mean, nobody thought they were doing anything this year. And they're one of the most, improved teams this season.
Yeah.
They got the Morris twins. Morris twins went to Kansas together, played for Bill Self. I mean, they were good players, and I mean they waited a little bit longer. They didn't come out right after their freshman. I think they were juniors when they came out, and they're great players that play together, and that's the thing is the disparity between the Western Conference and the Eastern Conference this year. I mean, if Miami or Indiana doesn't win the championship, it's guaranteed to be an actual Western Conference team this year because no other team in the Eastern Conference has a chance.
Damn, dude. Well, I gotta say, Commissioner Roger Goodell for the NFL talking about playoff expansion. What do you think if two extra teams go in? You know, you say they're 8-8, but all of a sudden they run the table, win a championship. And they barely, they got stomped the whole year, but they get hot. Do you think that it... I kind of like it the way it is now.
I think there's enough teams in the playoffs. I mean, you look at the Chargers who barely squeaked in with a 9-7 record. I mean, I don't even like to see teams with an 8-8 record make the playoffs. I mean, I don't think you're that good of a team. I mean, if you were I understand like if you had like a bunch of injuries at the beginning of the year and your guys got healthy and you may went on a run at the end of the year, but I mean, there's enough playoffs, in my opinion.
Well, I was thinking, wouldn't it be something also if, as far as the draft is concerned, what if they took the Super Bowl champion automatic last pick in each round, but every other pick is based on their regular season record? Instead of Chargers 9-7 at 25 overall, 9-7 puts them then at like 15 or 16.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if that's a good idea. I don't know if that's a bad idea. But, I mean, then you're discrediting a team that went to the Super Bowl, then you're kind of looking at it like, oh, you guys had a bad first, half of the season because you had a lot of injuries. You guys squeaked into the playoffs, but you guys should have been, a Super Bowl contender the whole year. And now you're giving them, a chance to get a super high pick even though they already have great players. So,
yeah, I mean, that's debatable, but I was just... obviously we have no say in what the league in any sport is going to do. But I'm just saying we can speculate. That's what this is about, dude. We just speculate. We think of things that maybe we want to see. Maybe other fans might agree on seeing. That's what it boils down to, really.
Absolutely. I mean, I definitely think that there could be some changes coming. I mean, like, with the field goal situation, with the extra points. I mean, who I think is just an awesome example? Russell Wilson, man. You don't like Russell Wilson, do you? I just don't think he's that good.
Okay, he's not that.
He's good. I like the way that he controls himself. Don't get me wrong, but I mean, he just doesn't. I don't look at him and be like, oh man, Russell Wilson. Dude,
no.
Great.
He's not. He's by far. He's so far from an elite quarterback. But what I like about that guy is. He's at the Texas Rangers spring training.
I do like that. I mean, he's one of the true dual athletes that you see today.
I mean, it's awesome. It's just awesome. And I don't know if you saw, but like they did a compare and contrast between Russell Wilson and Colin Kaepernick's Instagram accounts. Uh-huh. And Kaepernick's got photos of his Beats headphones, his friggin' expensive cars, all this material stuff, and then you got Russell Wilson on his feed, doing charity work and all this. It's crazy to me.
He lives a different life. I mean, I'm sure he was probably different upbringing and that kind of stuff. I'm sure it has a lot of contribution to it. But I mean, each guy handles himself different.
Yeah, but dude, I'm Kaepernick. That guy wants $18 million a year.
I mean, would you rather? Let me put it this way, then. So, yeah, Kaepernick. I'm not going to say you're lying. I'm a big Kaepernick fan. I do like Colin Kaepernick. I think he's the best dual threat quarterback.
But your boy did not pull through for you in fantasy this year.
No, I took him in fantasy. He definitely didn't pan out. But I still do like Colin Kaepernick. I think he's the best passing and running quarterback that you have in the league right now.
He's good.
He has a good arm. It's strong.
He's good.
He can use a little bit more touch on his throws for sure. But his legs, he can run the ball better than anybody. I mean, but at the end of the day, I mean, Kaepernick versus Wilson and how much money each guy should get. Look at Jay Cutler. He got, $17 million, $16 million a year from Chicago. I would personally much rather have Colin Kaepernick paying him that much money than I would Jay Cutler.
Yeah, no. See, Jay Cutler is Jay Cutler. Is there anything else that needs to be said about that guy?
Don't get me wrong. He had a better year with Trestman last year.
Yeah, but Trestman's a weird guy, man. Have you ever seen him in a in a conference interview or a press conference. The guy's just like.
And they don't have McCown anymore, dude. McCown just signed with Tampa Bay on a 2-year deal. So
who do they have at quarterback? They got Mike Glennon now, and that's it.
And now they have Josh McCown.
Dude, McCown just be a game manager. Go out.
Josh McCown, I think, should start. I mean, Glennon was pretty decent last year. He actually surprised me. I didn't expect him to do much, but I think Josh McCown should still get the starting job.
McCown, dude, that guy is at the point in his career, like, if that defense can play lights out and they can get a run game going, they can win 10 games.
Yeah.
Guaranteed.
Yeah. No, they are. I mean, you got Vincent Jackson to throw the ball to. He can jump up and catch it with the best out of anybody in the league.
I always forget they got Vincent, man.
And it's you want to forget that they had Vincent because we're Charger fans. We should have had him, but thanks to AJ Smith, we don't.
Yeah, it's all right though. But what do you think of those new uniforms for Tampa? I know. I haven't got a chance to talk to your pops about that because he's a big Tampa Bay fan. Yeah. But dude, they're looking kind of like an arena league team. I don't know how I feel about it.
I mean, I don't think that it looks terrible, but I mean the logo's kind of big on the helmet.
They're kind of going with that whole Seattle change of, change the culture, change the uniform.
Yeah.
But Seattle's uniforms, they grew on me, man.
I like Seattle's uniforms. They don't look bad. Tampa Bay's, I mean, I'm sure we're going to get used to them. It's just new.
The helmet's pretty badass, but the numbers...
The numbers are all right.
The
one thing that I don't like about the helmet, though, is like the entire logo on each side like wraps around and basically touches each other to the back, which that's kind of weird.
The big flag going over the side of the head.
Yeah, I don't think that's a huge topic. I mean, at the end of the day, and give it another 5 years, and every team's going to have a new uniform. So it's like
Nike's going to redo
everything. Yeah, Nike's already going to redo everything, and like I said, that's why I'm saying all the uniforms are going to change here pretty soon, but. I don't think that it's a big deal versus everything else that's happening on the NFL right now.
Without a doubt. And to all of our listeners out there, I would like to throw it out there that this is the debut episode of the Wednesday Evening Podcast. Once again, I'm Cody Mathewson. This is my guest, T-Mac, the sports specialist. We're going to have him on here pretty frequently. And, any questions, feel free to email us. Facebook us or whatever, and we will try to address it. Especially if it's sports related, we'll turn it over to him. I know a good fair share, but this guy is the guy with all the knowledge, and without a doubt, like we know what's going on most of the time, and we're looking forward to just having it happen. You know what I'm saying? Just having it happen. Speaking of which, did you ever want to touch on any Major League Baseball, or are you kind of over it?
I mean, baseball, like. I don't get me wrong, I played baseball obviously for like 12 years of my life, and baseball was my favorite thing. And I love baseball still. It's hard to watch because it is kind of slow, but I mean, it's in spring training right now. Yeah. I mean, there's some stuff going on. Like, baseball. I mean, especially like I'll just touch on the Padres since we're local San Diego. I'm not a giant Padres fan or anything, but I think that they do have a chance to be better this year. The only problem is like everybody was all talking, Cameron Maybin's coming back. He already got hurt again.
No, he did get hurt. It's been training.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. He already got hurt again.
But what I gotta say, dude, if you want to talk Padres, and we're not gonna get specific here, how I feel about the Padres is this: it's definitely a pastime for me. Yeah. I like to go to Petco Park, have a beer, just chill on a Sunday afternoon. Just lay back and just watch it happen, man. Yeah, but that's what it is.
I can't watch it on TV anymore.
No, they gotta get something. The broadcast booth, they gotta get some enthusiasm for all MLB. It's just these guys.
That ball was outside.
It was first base.
Great commentating. I'm totally intrigued.
First base. He's gonna try. No, he's not gonna steal second. It's terrible.
It's slow. It's a slow-paced game. I think one thing that might benefit them is if they reduce how many innings they play.
Oh God, yeah.
I mean, it's a 9-inning game. I get that's how it's always been, but I mean, like, do you really want to sit at a baseball game for 3.5 hours? No, you don't. Nobody does. Like, I mean, if you do, then great for you. But I mean, there's a lot of people that don't want to do that.
The culture of the MLB is really, really strong on the East Coast. I think people are really like, they believe in it much more than they believe in the NFL. As for us, it's like we're exposed to so much more being on the West Coast, being Southern California, having everybody together in the state of Southern California. The state of California.
I like touching more on the side of baseball, like not necessarily what's happening, like with what spring training's going on, but just like the stories around MLB. Like, I mean, you look at the stadiums now compared to like when obviously, they cheated, but like when Sosa and McGuire and Bonds and all these guys, they were taking steroids, but people actually wanted to go to the games because it was exciting. Is this dude going to hit a 70th home run tonight?
Oh, dude.
Am I going to be here to witness this history?
McGuire, dude, I remember the paper. He had a jack in the paper every day. Last night, hits another one.
I mean, that's the
setting
thing.
home run records, dude.
I mean, at the end of the day, it's like... And, a lot of the debate comes from all these guys who cheated and took steroids. Are they going to get into the Hall of Fame? Are they not going to get into the Hall of Fame? In my opinion, who cares if they're in the Hall of Fame? I mean, what are you going to do? You're going to take an entire 10-year period of time in baseball and not elect any of these guys to the Hall of Fame? What are you going to say about it? Oh, yeah, they took steroids. Okay, well, so you didn't induct anybody for the last 10 years? Because you can't guarantee that everybody didn't take steroids.
But the thing is, I'm not trying to get political, but there's no reason why the United States government should be involved in steroid use in pro baseball.
Yeah.
What the hell is this? You know what I mean? Like, what are they... we're wasting our time, people. We're wasting our time.
Here's my thing. I mean, if guys want to deteriorate their body and take all these things, then let them. I mean, if you don't want it in your game, then okay, get them out of your game, but don't discredit them from doing it. I mean, if they want to go to, Japan and play baseball or whatever, I'm sure they have stipulations on steroids and performance-enhancing drugs as well, but people watched baseball when that was happening.
No, the ratings were
exciting.
Up. The ratings were up. I mean,
now it's like you look at all these games, and I mean, look at the pitching. Yankees can't even sell out games. And this is the biggest franchise, best, most World Series.
It's all pitching now.
Yeah.
Have you noticed?
Yeah, it's all pitching.
There's no hitting. Even what you got?
You have a few people.
You got the dude up in San Francisco, the Kung Fu Panda. He can hit. You got friggin'...
I mean, you got Mike Trout in Los Angeles playing for the Angels.
Yeah, who's the other dude from the Tigers?
Oh, you're talking about Miguel Cabrera. I mean, and they had Prince Fielder.
We're talking about like a handful of guys that are sure hitters.
Yeah, I mean,
in the whole
there's
league.
not very many guys that you sit there and you're like, oh man, he's a great hitter. I mean, you look at Albert Pujols. He went to the Los Angeles Angels, and he got this great old $250 million
and that goes back
this.
to the money issue. Why would you take you're going to take $200 million. Anyone would. But to not perform to that, I don't understand.
I just don't understand why any team would offer that. I mean, if I was like, I think a lot of the money problems have to do with owners and teams in the MLB, not necessarily just the players. I mean, right when you pay one guy this amount of money, why doesn't everybody just step back and say, hey, you know what? This is the most amount of money we're willing to spend on one guy. I don't care if he's this great or that great.
Yeah,
if every team had a realistic expectation of about a good amount of money to spend on someone, it wouldn't be a big problem. I mean, you look at like Clayton Kershaw from the Dodgers, who just got this $215 million contract, the most money a pitcher has ever gotten.
Isn't he like 21 or 22?
He's like 23.
Oh, he's a little
24,
okay.
Yeah.
Jeez, man.
But it's
200 million?
Yeah, $215 million, and it's like,
and it's all guaranteed.
Yeah, you get guaranteed all your money in baseball. That's the thing, is you're dropping these big contracts without a chance to get out of the contract if something bad happens.
Or even worse, these teams haven't even I don't really know what the whole payroll is, but I would think automatically they haven't even made that much money this year yet. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
That's crazy to think, dude.
Yeah, I mean, you're making an Alex Rodriguez salary 10 years, $275 million with a $25 million, incentive bonus. So technically a $300 million contract, about $30 million a year. And it's like, that's ridiculous. I mean, most of these guys in the NFL are getting guaranteed $30 million out of their $50 million contract that they sign. So they're guaranteed through the 6 years of $30 million. These guys are guaranteed $30 million each year for 10 years straight.
That's just crazy, dude. So I mean, so do they just take all that money straight up then? Is that how they do it?
I mean, obviously you get taxed on it and everything, but I mean,
still,
it's like you're still getting what, $20 million out of $30 million or something like that.
Dude, even if you tax it, you're still set for life.
Oh, of course you're set for life.
Just set for life, dude.
Anybody who gets that big of a contract should be set for life. I mean, obviously you see pro athletes and all that blow all their monay on stupid things, and they're broke. But
yeah, I'm gonna have a guy on the podcast here, friend of mine actually, ex-collegiate player for Fresno State, football player. I think you'd enjoy talking to him, man.
Name?
He's a coworker of mine now.
Oh, he's a coworker of yours?
Yeah, but he was a star, and football didn't pan out.
Where
for
did
him.
he play at?
Fresno State.
Oh, Fresno. Oh, okay.
And I'm gonna have him on the podcast.
How long ago?
Maybe 3 seasons ago, something like that. But
Played Ryan Mathewson while he was there?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Oh,
But
okay.
I might have him on the podcast. We're going to tell his story because it's pretty interesting, man. It's just amazing because you think about sports. This goes for any sport. It doesn't always work out for everybody. I mean, every year there's free agents that are sitting out there. Undrafted guys without a job. And there's only 53 guys to each team in the league as far as the NFL is concerned.
Yeah.
And every year there's a draft. Every year there's new dreams, there's new prospects, and that's it.
That's one thing, yeah.
Isn't that crazy? It's a farm system, dude. They take the best of the best, and that is it. If you're not the best, you're gone.
I mean, and you look at these guys, and we always criticize players for being third string, and you're like, oh man, these guys suck. And I mean, it's like they're good enough to be in the NFL. They obviously have the talent, and they can produce to some extent of what the NFL expects.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, obviously with your buddy there, he was a great player in college maybe, but the NFL, like I said,
Dude,
it's a much bigger learning curve when you go from...
His junior year in high school, 9 interceptions.
Yeah.
Awesome. Just awesome, man. But you think a guy like that, he was telling me about, just college... It seems like it's a close-knit situation, but everybody's just really into themselves. They're all about themselves.
Yeah.
He says it's not just a small group team like it is in high school. It's just a ton of different guys that don't know each other. They were all the best from where they came from.
So they still want to be the best.
No.
And I mean, that brings back to the point of, like with college basketball and staying the whole time. I mean, yeah, you come out of high school and I mean... And when you're great at basketball, like LeBron James was coming straight out of high school, he was obviously amazing. But he was a once-in-a-lifetime player. You don't find LeBron James coming out every 3 or 4 years. It's once every 50 years that you may see a guy like LeBron James and all these other guys that are, they're good and they're great players.
It makes you wonder what's going to happen. What's going to happen to these leagues when the star players are done? Yeah. Like, what's going to happen to the NBA when LeBron and Kobe are gone? Or what's going to happen to the NFL when Brady and Manning are gone? Like, it's you've already seen the turnovers to begin, especially in the NFL, with Russell Wilson. He's a young up-and-comer, won the Super Bowl. And I think that's what's going to happen. I think Andrew Luck is a year or two away. He's going to win the dance. I think all these young guys are really coming up, and unfortunately, the windows are closing. And especially for guys like Kobe, Brady... Manning. The window is closing. Yeah, we don't want it to close. We want it to stay open forever because it's great.
They're the ones that bring the eyes to the sports.
Yeah, and it's just they put on a show, and they do it because they're genuinely good at it. They don't do it to try and be like an Owens and for the attention. Brady is just he loves to play football.
Yeah,
Rivers is the same kind of guy. I mean, Kobe Bryant loves to play basketball. LeBron James.
Yeah.
Can you really hate on a guy that goes to another team and just decides to run train on everybody?
That's the thing.
I mean, it is what it is.
Yeah, I mean, he went to where he thought he was going to have the best chance to win. And, I mean, he won back-to-back championships. He's, in my opinion, at the end of his career, when it's all said and done, he will be better than Kobe. I mean,
without a doubt.
I can't sit here and say that he's better than Jordan. I mean, that's way too big of an era difference. But Kobe's era versus LeBron's era, it's a few years after, but they're pretty close. I mean, LeBron's 28 now and Kobe's 34, so it's only a 6-year difference. I mean, and LeBron came in when he was, 18, so Kobe was 24. So Kobe had been in the league for 6 years because he came in when he was 18 too. So.
Yeah, but dude, I just think about a guy like LeBron James, man. You can't go wrong, dude.
No, I mean, LeBron's by far the best player in the league. I think after LeBron, there's really not a lot of guys right now that I can sit here and say, oh, he's going to be the number one star of the league. I look at a guy like Damian Lillard over in Portland. Good player, solid player. Didn't expect what he's done so far to continue to happen. Great player, though. He may have a chance. And then a guy like Kyrie Irving, John Wall, those are really the only guys. But John Wall struggled so bad this year that they're about to,
that's a name that I haven't heard since he was drafted, dude, or coming out of college.
He's a good player. He's just not consistent.
What about Anthony Davis, dude? Unibrow man.
Good player, plays for the Hornets or the Charlotte Hornets, or what, they changed their name. They're about to change their name. They're going back to the Charlotte Hornets, but they're so. Just like what the Pelicans did, they changed the name.
Pelicans, that's the worst
New
team
Orleans
name I've
Pelicans
ever heard.
instead of New Orleans Hornets, and now it's Charlotte instead of being the Bobcats. Next year they're going to be back to the Hornets because that's where originally the Hornets name came from. So, but I mean, Anthony Davis, if I was to sit here and say out of John Wall, Kyrie Irving, Anthony Davis, I would say Anthony Davis is probably the best player out of those guys. He was hurt a little bit, which kind of, set him back, but he's, in my opinion, a better player than both of those guys. And, I mean, it's hard to find good big men now these days. You have a lot of these guys who can, I can handle the ball, and I can shoot a three-pointer, and I can dribble. But if you don't have a guy who can rebound, if you don't have a guy who can score down low, you're never going to win a championship. I mean, the exception, I guess, would be Miami a little bit. They have Chris Bosh, who, yeah, he's a good player. He can play down low, but he's a much better outside shooter this year. So you still need big men who can rebound, and Anthony Davis is probably the best thing that I've seen come into the league probably since Tim Duncan.
Yeah. That's the thing, dude. The NBA is kind of this enigma for my interests. Like, I'm a big NFL guy, and I don't know, man. I've been touching on a lot more NHL lately. I feel like it's finally coming into the prime time, and it's deserved.
And NHL's, I like the NHL. Don't get me wrong; it's a good league.
My problem is you really have to train your eyes when you're watching hockey because half the time you can't even see the puck unless you have a high def TV, and then you're just like, what?
Which everybody does for the most part now.
Yeah, but even then, it's just that's my only thing is it's kind of hard to see who's going all out. But
hockey's probably the most physical sport that there is. I mean, football's physical, but I mean, those guys are fighting each other.
They don't have teeth.
Yeah, I mean, these guys are getting hit in the face with pucks. The sticks hitting them in the face, breaking their nose. Hockey's a great sport. It's obviously a lot more on, that's the problem with hockey is they don't broadcast it to a big enough audience. Like, they've been doing the Stadium series, which is pretty good.
I'm really happy with how NBC does their showcase of the games. Their broadcast is fantastic. A sport that I can't really ever see getting huge would be like MLS or World Cup soccer is dominant and it's awesome to watch. But what is that? Every 4 years? I mean, you look at these American teams and it's just for some reason America is so detached from it.
Yeah, I don't think America's. At least not any time in the foreseeable future are they going to become a big soccer country.
It's because it's boring.
It is.
It's so boring.
It is.
It's like you watch a whole game and there's one score.
I mean, don't get me wrong. That's probably the most boring sport that I personally feel
it's like. Dude, it's like watching paint dry.
Yeah.
I mean, no disrespect, but it's the truth.
Yeah, that's the sport that I don't think is going to catch on. But with hockey, during the regular season, it's not on a lot on TV for a national audience to see. Yeah. But when it comes playoff time, up there with... I'm going to sit here... I love NFL playoffs, don't get me wrong, but I think the NBA playoffs and the NHL playoffs are better than the NFL playoffs. Because it's more exciting and more games.
It's a series.
Exactly.
And the satisfaction lasts a little bit longer. The same goes with baseball, man. You got these series, and that's the most exciting time of the MLB season, I think. It's like championship
single
season.
elimination in football, I don't think that should change. I'm not saying go to a series format or anything
couldn't
like
do that. Not in football.
But, it's just... It's more games for the playoffs in these other sports, so you feel like the playoffs are going longer, which it usually does mean they're going longer.
Even if you don't pay attention right off the bat, it's not all of a sudden halfway through the whole tournament.
Yeah.
You can pay attention here, and then you can miss it like a week, and it's still going on. You can catch up. It's good when you're busy, but you can keep up with the series, man. I mean, that's awesome.
Yeah, there's definitely some stuff that I think could change with the NHL to probably make it more popular. I think if they just got some more national broadcasted games, like they started that Stadium series, I think it was a couple years ago.
Oh yeah,
they're playing in the New York Yankees Stadium and putting the rink there. That attracts more fans. That's interesting. You don't see that all the time.
Exactly.
So I think that it's definitely helping them this year. Reach to a bigger audience. You can fit more people in the stadium. Hockey arenas fit 20,000 maximum.
And that's the one thing, dude. I want to go to a live game. I want to go to like a Kings game, cruise right up the coast or something, and I want to go to a live hockey game. I feel like the experience would be fantastic.
That's the thing is living here in San Diego. I mean, we don't obviously we can go up to LA and watch the Kings, or we can watch the Anaheim Ducks or whatever, but we don't have a team here in San Diego. I did go to a couple games to the San Diego Gulls when they were a team.
Was it double A? Is it double A? Triple A? Some kind of A?
Yeah, some kind of A. I mean, I don't even know, but I mean, that was cool to watch. I remember going to a game, that all 5 guys on both teams dropped the gloves. They're all swinging at each other. That's awesome. That's fun to watch to me in hockey. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say I want to promote violence in sports and kill each other. But
no, with the NFL, you should get a couple swings in the NFL.
Yeah.
Like Cortland Finnegan, Andre Johnson, and they had that fight. That was awesome, man.
Dude, that was entertainment. I mean, yeah, you don't want that maybe as like the NFL commissioner.
I know there's a big thing with the NFL in particular, like that. They're trying to change the culture. They don't want all this bad stuff, but that's understandable.
Like banning the N-word, the stupidest thing I've heard.
Yeah, but I mean, bottom line is, dude, if you're playing football and that's your job, the same rules should apply. Like me and you would both be fired on our jobs if we were using language like that.
Of course.
So it's just a workplace thing. You know what I mean? It's be professional. That's all it is.
Here's the thing, though, is like if you're on the field, I don't consider that like being professional. Like if you're at practice and you guys are in the locker room together and you're talking with each other, then I think you should be a little bit more professional. But when you're out on the field and you're going back and forth with each other at the other teams, how are you gonna say, oh, you know what, you can't say the N-word? I mean, 90% of the guys in the NFL are African American. I don't think the word is used as how it once was back in the day when it was with the ER instead of the A. I think with the A, that's more of a friendly term. I mean, coming from a white guy, obviously I don't use those words, but I don't sit there and I don't look at it like, oh, you know what? That African American guy is being way racist to that African American guy. No. That's not how it is. It's like me and you sitting here saying, hey, what up, bro? What's up, homie? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's basically just how they communicate. And I mean, I have a lot of black friends who use that word. So it's not... It's not a big deal, in my opinion.
Not generally, but in the workforce, it's just kind of like, you just gotta conduct yourself professionally at all times. I mean, I understand if you're got all the testosterone levels in the locker room, you're hanging out with your buddies, and you're, oh, hey, well, you're speaking your talk, or whatever you're saying. I mean, I get it, but it's just, when there's coaches around and that kind of a thing...
Yeah, it should be limited. Don't
like if
get me
your
wrong.
boss is around, you don't want to say that around your boss.
Yeah,
if you're out there and you're with your buddy and you're talking to your buddy, it's different.
If you're out on the field, I think it's okay. If you're in your meetings with your coaches and you're watching film and you're going N-word this and N-word this and all that, then that doesn't need to be there. That should be limited. That should be regulated.
It's just unnecessary, and it should be regulated. And I'm happy that this whole Ted Wells report thing came out because it's just ridiculous. It's ridiculous that people act like that. And how old are you? I mean, what are they, like 30? What are you doing? This is a teammate. You're supposed to play for each other on the biggest stage. You're supposed to win every Sunday on televised broadcasts, and you're treating these people like crap, and you're getting paid. It's just, I don't know. It's already been discussed by hundreds of other people across the nation, but we just haven't got a chance to touch on that. But it's true. The culture is an issue, and that goes for all sports, really.
I mean, I remember watching the Outside the Lines report on that. It was probably like 2 or 3 weeks ago, and I mean. They had, like, why would they bring the rapper Common onto Outside the Lines to have a debate about this? I mean, yeah, I get that he's an artist or a rapper or whatever you want to call him, and he uses the N-word in all of his songs.
When was the last time I heard anything from Common?
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, maybe he did grow up, and I think he grew up in Chicago, in a bad part of Chicago, and that word, the N-word was thrown around a lot, but... Like, you guys couldn't find somebody better than Common to come onto your show and, have a discussion about this?
Common. Like, no, why not bring somebody on that, like, knows a little bit more? Just, you're talking to a guy that's obviously, like, biased as hell.
Yeah, exactly. Like, obviously that dude uses the N-word all the time. If you've heard any of his songs, it's N-word every 4.5 words. I mean, I'm not saying that it's a bad music or anything like that. Like, I listen to hip-hop and that kind of stuff. That is my preferred choice of music. But I don't listen to songs that say the N-word every 3.5 minutes and stuff.
It's just...
So, I mean, that kind of stuff, I mean, the Outside the Lines report that they had was good. They had Jamel Hill from ESPN on there. And And they had, who else? They had Ryan Clark on there from formerly Pittsburgh Steelers.
Okay, Ryan Clark, that makes sense. Ryan Clark's
he's like a, and he's doing more of the analyst stuff. I mean, obviously I heard that the Redskins are interviewing him or, seeing what they can work out with him today. But, I know he's not going to be back with the Steelers, but he's a good guy to actually have a conversation with. So
well, yeah, him as opposed to Common, dude.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
It's a world of difference. For one, the guy's played in the NFL locker room. For two,
Correct.
I mean, he's conducted himself professionally ever since he was with the Steelers, which goes back to this whole organizational structure,
and
dude.
he even said it on that report or on that Outside the Lines telecast there that he doesn't use that word. He said, I'm that's not a word that I use. I try to get my teammates not to use that word. He's like, I'm not going to sit here and say that none of my teammates use that word because I do hear it. But he's like, me personally, me and my family, that's not a word that we use. And I mean, Ryan Clark is I think a more sophisticated player in the NFL than a lot of the other ones. I think he's more matured.
I would agree with that. I would agree.
So. But, I mean, not every player, just because they're African-American in the NFL, uses that word. But there are going to be the majority of them that do. And I don't think you can tell, 90% of your players that, hey, you know what? No, you can't use that word anymore.
Yeah. Well, on a different topic, what do you I mean, do you believe that early retirement is going to become a trend?
I mean, to avoid injuries.
The whole Rashard Mendenhall?
I mean, here's the thing: is say me, for instance. Obviously, I'm only 21 years old, and I have a kid, and I'm a dad. So, I think you want to spend time with your family. These NFL guys who get into the NFL, what if they had a kid in college? Now you don't ever get to see your kid because you're in the NFL. I think that it's going to get to the point where it's like they ask so much of all these guys. Mm-hmm. Every single year, every single day, that they're going to become tired of it, and they're going to be like, you know what, I don't get to spend time with my family, I don't get to do things that I would actually enjoy doing outside of working. I mean, NFL is their job, that's their work.
And that's what people forget.
They don't get a chance to detach from it.
Us as fans, man, we just, we look at it and it's, we're fans, but so many people just, they get so upset, and it's like, dude, these people are getting paid to win games, and they're losing games, it's on them.
Exactly.
And it's a job.
Yeah.
And unfortunately,
I mean,
these teams, they're not, they got these players, and I hate to say it like this, but there's a huge percentage of them that just don't care.
Yeah.
They don't care about anything with the paycheck. And they can play a position, you know what I mean? They can play it decently, but they're collecting a check, man.
Yeah, no.
That's what it is. That's all that it is.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's definitely a problem that I think is going to happen more often, especially with, injuries and stuff, with all the brain damage stuff coming out and all that. I mean, I don't think that there's going to be a lot of players who are willing to risk more than, 7-8 years in the league, because then you're going to really start getting into a point where, how many concussions have I had? If I get another one, am I going to have this disease? And you just don't know. So I think a guy's going to probably want to protect himself, especially later on. What if you don't have kids in the NFL and you want to have a family after the NFL? Now you have a family, but then 10 years after you have your first kid, you're like, oh no, I got a brain damage disease because I got too many concussions in the NFL, and now you can't even take care of your kid.
And that's the reality. That's the reality.
And I mean, it's like me and you going to our normal jobs and saying, oh, you know what? I'm going to be here for the next 3 months. I'm never going to leave because, I have to. And then I would never get to see my kid. And I mean, that...
Unrealistic expectation,
Exactly. And I mean, I get the NFL. I get how much money you're getting paid and all that. But at the end of the day, being with your family as opposed to making the money for your family and supporting them, it's a completely different situation. I think I would much rather support my family while being able to see them all the time than I would be able to support them, maybe better because I'd be making more money, but I wouldn't be able to see them. I don't think that's a good trade-off.
Exactly, dude. Nail it on the head. But I'm getting kind of hungry here. I imagine you're probably getting a little bit hungry too.
I could eat.
So, I think we're going to wrap up the podcast today. We're going to go hit some lunch, man. And I'd like to thank all for listening, for anybody out there. This is the Wednesday Evening Podcast. I am Cody. I'm the host with my guest, T-Mac, the specialist of sports. It's been great to have you in the studio. Come back anytime. And hopefully, as things draw near to the draft and whatnot, come back in. We'll discuss more about what's going on collegiately.
Love to be back.
And, had a blast, man. Had an absolute blast.
It was a good day today. Everybody that's listening, thanks for your time. You guys have a great rest of your day.
All right, guys. Take it easy.